Right.
There we go. Shalom, shalom. Test it, test it.
Hey, shalom, shalom.
Shalom,
Hey,
shalom.
shalom to the nation of Israel. Okay, when it comes to the hopeful elect. Okay, first and foremost, before we get into our street ministry for the day, we want to start off by giving all praises unto
Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakah, Kodash.
double honors to the apostles, bishops, and elders, the great millstone that teach that rule well today. Salutation also to the fellow laborers that's in the ministry and the believers that scatter worldwide in all truth and sincerity, day in and day out. Okay, so once again, man, we out here to prophesy the downfall of America, which is known as Babylon the Great. And this message goes out to the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, which we are the true biblical Hebrew Israelites according to the Bible, and also to the Israelite foreigners that scattered amongst the heathen nations, and that may take on the physical appearance or look of another nation. But if your bloodline goes back to Negro, Latino, or Native American descent by the seed of your father, you are considered an Israelite as well. Shalom.
Shalom. And today's lesson, we're going into basically the end of an age. All right, Esau, Edom being exposed through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shah, various scriptures, but ultimately prophecies, man, because we are the true prophets of Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shah, the true names of the Heavenly Father, through His only begotten Son. All right, and we come out week in and week out through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shah to the best of our ability to prophesy the downfall of this wicked society, this current wicked empire, this infrastructure known as America, aka Babylon the Great, according to the scriptures. All right, and without further ado, we're just going to give precepts and scriptures going into the end of this devil's reign, his reign of terror, and so on and so forth, man. All right, because at the end of the day, going back to Lamentations chapter 4. So like if you can get that right quick. Lamentations chapter 4 and 21 and 22. We are at the end of our captivity. And for the ones that's in, in meekness and being sincere about the words and prophecies of Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shah, you're going to be occupied in the scriptures. You're going to be occupied in the prophecies pursuing the Sirach, the 39th chapter. You get that?
You went on Lamentation?
Oh, yeah, Lamentations.
Lamentation chapter 4. Lamentation chapter 4, verse 21. Rejoice and be glad, O daughter of Edom, that dwellest in the land of Uz.
Yup.
It says, the cup also shall pass through unto thee. Thou shalt be drunken and shalt make thyself naked.
And the Lord is making, these devils naked. And whole Psalm, the 64th chapter, through the Spirit. And verse, I believe 6 on down to 8. Psalm 64, if I'm not mistaken. And but going into how Esau Edom is making himself naked, being exposed. All right, rejoice and be glad, oh the nation of Edom, dwelling in the land of Uz, basically dwelling in a luxurious, queendom, being on top, being the current rulers. All right, pursuing the Job chapter 9 verse 24. All right, Esau Edom, the so-called Caucasian race, is the current nation that's ruling the empire that we know as Babylon the Great, and also the other nations amongst the whole world, man. All right.
Yeah, because we in the time now, these central bankers are ruling. Okay, but when it comes to you, average Edomites, okay, when it comes to here in America, you American citizens, okay, it's the time now to rejoice, man. So what's the time now for you? So-called, we say Edom, the so-called white race. Okay, that's that's ruling today, that's in power today, they have privilege. Okay, when it comes to their rulership, due to the spirit and power of Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shah, Now we're in the time of their downfall. Okay, so now we're in the time of, they're supposed to be, rejoicing and having fun, living it up. Okay, but now these Edomites, when it comes to the American Edomites, okay, when it comes to these citizens, man, they starting to catch hell now. Okay, such as, the average American citizen, okay, when it comes to, those that's over here, you got people that are well off, okay, here in America, but this place is about to witness a financial crash. Okay, this place is about to witness more and more inflation. Okay, as we on the verge of the dollar about to collapse. Okay, we're talking about how Trump, okay, Donald Trump, when it comes to these tariffs, okay, we putting on, sanctions on these other nations such as, China, okay, Europe, their own allies, Canada, Mexico, okay, all that going to affect, okay, the average consumer, okay, when it comes to this place in America, man. Okay, because this place is known as an importing country, okay, when it comes to the trades,
Receiving goods.
they're receiving goods, okay, but this is supposed to be the time when Esau, rejoicing in, being lavish, like you say, being a luxury, okay, but now we're in the time of the downfall, man. Okay, starting with this word, okay, Yahweh Shema Shai exposing them, man. Okay, and now we're at the time of division. Okay, we're coming to the point of civil unrest. Okay, when it comes to here in America, man. Okay.
Read Lamentations 4:21 again.
Lamentations chapter 4, verse 21. Rejoice and be glad, O daughter of Edom, that dwellest in the land of Uz.
And Esau, Edom is the Caucasian race. The so-called white people, starting off with the elites. All right, Amalek, the ones that call themselves the Jewish people, the ones that proclaim themselves to be the chosen people of the Lord, the imposters. All right, in the land of Uz, which symbolically represents Babylon the Great America, because this is the current land that majority of their wealth and fortune came out of. All right, and it spread the influence throughout various of countries. Going back to Habakkuk chapter 2, verse 5. All right, he heapeth unto himself all nations. All right, through his a whoredom and witchcraft, roughly paraphrasing that.
Lamentation chapter 4, verse 21. Rejoice and be glad, O daughter of Edom, that dwellest in the land of Uz. The cup also shall pass through unto thee. Thou shalt be drunken and shalt make thyself naked. That cup going into basically slavery. Okay. Well, now we're at the point of them being exposed, Okay, when it comes to their nakedness, man. Okay, when it comes to their wickedness. Okay, their ancient, when it comes to their history, when it comes to Esau, all of it is in the scriptures. How much Shema Shai said of the prophets, okay, the exposing. Okay, they exposing themselves as well. Okay, all nations are exposing Esau even at this time. Okay, when it comes to their history. And that's why you have critical race theory, okay, which is the critical race fact, okay, but they're trying to get rid of their existence, okay, they shameful spewing, okay, Habakkuk, like you make a picture, Habakkuk 2 and 16, okay.
I got that on deck too.
Yeah, so now we're in the time of exposure when it comes to history, but more anything when it comes to the NWO now, okay, they trying to forge the NWO. And all that's being exposed now. Okay? And when it comes to now we're in the time of the forging, the technology, the AI, bringing a cashless society, the smart city, surveillance, biometric, transhumanism. Okay, all that's on display now as we're in the time of information. Okay, when it comes to the internet. Lately, brother was going into how the internet, okay, is exposed to more and more Esau Edom agenda. Okay? Lamentation chapter 4, verse 22. It says, the punishment of thy iniquity is accomplished. O daughter of Zion, he will no more carry thee away into captivity.
And at the end of the day, us, you so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, this is a time of rejoicing. Even though, we ought to be in a state of mourning because, great troubles and great tribulation is coming, but through the spirit and power of Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shah, we ought to be rejoicing, man, because the kingdom of heaven is at hand. All right, so this is our last captivity, being under the so-called white Caucasian race, the Edomites, the biblical Edomites. All right, and also their age or their rulership is about to come to an end, pursuing the second Ezra, the 6th chapter, verse 9. All right, and you can read that for yourself in the Apocrypha, man. All right, through the Spirit. But hey, our accomplish of iniquity, our transgressions, us, we're going to be righteous in the kingdom of heaven forever through the Spirit and power of Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shah. And he's about to redeem his people at the end of the day.
You make mention of, I'll get it real quick. Second Esdras, chapter 6. I'll start at verse 9. And it says, for Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followed.
And this is a future prophecy. All right, and you got to have the spirit and power of Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shah to understand this. All right, and we understand through prophecies that Rome, that was ruled by the Edomites, all right, the head that was wounded, all right, was going to come back to life, wounded by death. All right, that was healed. Okay, wounded by death, but healed through the spirit and power of Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shah. And that place is Babylon the Great America. All right, the last hoorah or the last kingdom of Esau Edom, man. All right, and no, the Edomites are not done away with, because Obadiah chapter 1 and 18 on down has not came to pass. All right, because at the end of the day, we're still at the bottom. We're still under captivity. We're still underneath the flesh and underneath the curses. Okay, so this is a glorious thing that's happening upon the earth through the spirit and power of Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shah, but only the elect will understand and comprehend the great sacrifice, man.
Yeah. The Edomites are clearly here today, man. When it comes to the wicked, okay, because the Edomites known as the wicked as well, man. Okay, Malachi with 1 and 4, man. Okay, they call them the border of wickedness. They're clear to see, okay, that when it comes to the so-called whiteness, okay, they are the biblical Edomites, okay, and they are under the rule at this time of the spiritual demon Satan. Okay, they're doing their bit. Okay, and you seeing that now. Okay, the Edomites clear saying that they're Satan worshipers, man. Okay, when it comes to this whole NWO.
Like the brother said, hey, Esau Edom, they open with it, man.
Oh, yeah.
This is the only, this is the country that influences other countries to promote witchcraft, all right, promote Satanism.
And it says, Second Esdras, chapter 6, verse 9, for Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followed.
Yep, us being Jacob, the descendants of Jacob, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. All right, starting off with the elect, because like I said earlier, only the elect is going to want these things to come to pass in order for the kingdom of heaven to be established. Because we understand that in righteousness and in perfection, we're gonna have, we're gonna live a real life. All right, we're gonna have real children, eat real food, eat real foods. It's a lot. All right, eat, all the foods and breathe in the right airs, man. Not filled with chemicals, so on and so forth. That's what we're looking forward to.
Yeah, because this place is going to be, first of all, when it comes to the destruction of this place, America, they're going to be destroyed totally. Okay, but when Yahweh Shah is coming back to bring righteousness. Okay, and when it comes to the elect, us are the hopeful elect. Okay, we're going to be joint heirs. Okay, as we come in the time of the transition of power. Okay, that's why it says that Esau Edom is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning that followed. Okay, we come in the transition of power. That's why you're seeing Israelites waking up. Okay, mainly the elect. Okay, and because of the various camps. Okay, start with the men of Great Millstone. Okay, and the brother on down. Okay, that truly believe. Okay, because we know we got false prophets amongst Israel. Okay, but when it comes to this teaching, the Lord is waking up Israel. Okay, when it comes to the elect. And at the same time, supposing Esau Edom. Okay, when it comes to their downfall, we're in the time of the transition of power. Okay, and ultimately, Okay, they're going to be fully known when Yahweh shall return, man, by the host of the angels, what the world called UFOs, chariots. Okay, what the world called UFOs, which are the chariots, at the peak of the Third World War. Okay, and at the peak of the Third World War, this place America is going to be destroyed, man. Okay, by the way of thermonuclear fight. Okay, that's why you're seeing now the talks about Trump talking about doing strikes on Iran. Okay, because you just had Iran reveal an underground bunker or underground missile facility. Okay, by their arsenal. Man. Okay, we know that Iran is allies or receiving aid from Russia. Okay, that's Ezekiel the 38th chapter, man. Gog and Magog. Okay, which Gog and Magog represent Russia today. Okay, being an aid. Okay, until Iran. Okay, Iran, which was ancient Persia. Okay. Okay, so now we're seeing the stages being set more and more. The Third World War. Okay, we're seeing the wars going on between Israel, Hamas, okay, Palestine, okay, when it comes to Israel, those phonies over there, okay, which that land gonna be destroyed as well, okay, because the people that's over there are not the original inheritors, as you made mention earlier. They're Amalek, okay, the grandson of Esau, Edom, okay, and chiefly that's in power, okay, when it comes to the small hats, man, okay, so that land gonna be destroyed, man. Okay, we coming to the time of the Third World War. But that land gonna be destroyed just to be rebuilt by the rightful owners. When it comes to the true biblical Hebrew Israelites, which happen to be the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. That's gonna take place when Yahweh shall return. Okay, and deliver, okay, the elect, set up, the kingdom, okay, and Esau, Edom, start with the elites. They're gonna escape the damnation of those missiles. Just to be reserved, and they're gonna be in their bunkers. Just to be reserved from captivity. They would have to build our kingdom. Okay? And now we're in the process of time. Well, this place, America, being destroyed. In the time of Esau Edom, at this time, being exposed. But that transition of power.
This is Isaiah chapter 13 and verse 4. The noise of a multitude in the mountains, like as of a great people, a tumultuous noise of the kingdoms of nations gathered together. The Lord Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai of hosts mustereth the host of the battle.
Yeah, that's the nuclear missiles. Yep. Okay. And when it comes to Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai will. Okay. Because Esau Edom, when it comes to Esau Edom, he boasted his technology when it comes to the blessing of the sport. Okay, but it was given unto him. Okay. But Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai gave him the blessing. Okay, basically to destroy his own society. Okay.
Yep. And like the brother said, those nuclear missiles, and they're going to be shot off via through these nations. That's why the scriptures say in Matthew the 24th chapter that nations should be against nations. There should be wars and rumors of wars. All right, Joel the 3rd chapter, how the Lord is preparing all these Gentiles, these heathen nations to prepare for war, because that's the time that we're entering into. We're not in the time of peace and harmony. We're not in the time of this place prospering for another, couple hundred, not a couple hundred, a couple years. All right, 100 years, 200 years. All right, roughly paraphrasing. This place is fitted for destruction, and soon to come, this place will be destroyed in the up and coming World War III, which we are entering into right now, man.
I got this one real quick. This is Isaiah chapter 54, verse 16. Behold, I have created the smith that bloweth the coals and the fire, and that bringeth forth an instrument for his work. I have created the waste to destroy.
God, through the spirit and power, so like Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, the Lord created all things, man. So the Lord has the minds of the people. All right, going into Proverbs 20 or 24, or 24 and 20, roughly paraphrasing. Man's going is of the Lord. Also Proverbs 21 and verse 1. So at the end of the day, the Lord is controlling nations to prepare for war, to create those smiths, all right, to split the atom bomb, All right, starting off back when, you know, Oppenheimer,
Oppenheimer.
yup, going back to him, building the atomic bomb, the atomic warfare, all right, which now we're now into the age of nuclear war, all right, which is more advanced and more deadlier than the average back in the day atomic bomb, man. But that's all through the spirit and power Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shah for this place to be utterly destroyed in the next and up and coming World War III, which is about to soon happen. All right, read that again for me.
Isaiah chapter 54, Isaiah chapter 54, verse 16. Behold, I have created the smith that bloweth the coals in the fire.
The scientists, all right, during that nuclear arms war, all right, the Lord put the spirit on certain scientists to part their ways, man. Certain scientists remain in the Eastern Hemisphere, over there mainly, you know, Russia, Germany,
Russia
mainly.
Because Russia, when it comes to when it came to that nuclear arm races, mainly during the time of the Cold War, okay, you had Russia's, you had German scientists that divided. You know, America got some German scientists, but Russia got the better of Russia, when it comes to the German scientists. Okay, because that's all the spirit of Yahweh Shah.
That's right.
Okay, now to the point that Russia got more and more advanced weapons, nuclear weapons than America. Okay, because America got nuclear weapons as well. Okay, hey, but Russia, show you that Lord is with Russia. Okay, but they're gonna be a key part of destroying this place. Okay, Russia, China, they can mention Iran,
Also
North Korea. Okay, certain Arab nations, because Saudi Arabia
And
Pakistan.
Salakia, these are only countries that do not like Babylon the Great America, man. What about his own allies? Because pursuing also, that's also going to happen too, pursuing the Revelation 17 and I believe verse 15, but it's in the 17th chapter.
17, 10,
How the beast shall hate the whore, man, and shall utterly burn her with fire. So all these things are prophesied, and you slowly seeing those things progress as America, Babylon the Great, keep fucking with his own allies, man. All right, mainly NATO, the EU countries. All right, mainly those European countries, those nations, Turkey. All right. Yeah, it's all through the spirit.
Turkey, Germany. Because as it says with Daniel, 7th chapter, okay, going into the 10 toes, okay, being partially weak and partially strong. 10 toes represent the European system today, man. Okay, but they divided amongst each other, man. Okay, when it comes to financial, okay, I asked Germany, Ireland, okay, France, Britain, a lot of those countries are divided. Okay, now you got Trump putting tabs on them. Okay, to help more and more further weaker their economy. Okay, so they're going to lead to more and more. Okay, and like we said, Turkey. Okay, well, we already know Turkey. The reason why Turkey want to join Russia. Okay, because Turkey is an Islamic state. Okay, and they seeing what's going on with Israel attacking Hamas and Palestine. Okay, over there, those Arab states over there. Okay, primarily a lot of them are Islamic. Okay, so Turkey is an Islamic state, so that's why they want to join Russia and come against the West. Okay, leave NATO. Okay, and Turkey is part of as well. God can make God when it comes to being a guardian to them. Russia, okay, you got Turkey and Syria. Okay, Deuteronomy. I'm not Ezekiel chapter 38.
I'm about to get Psalms 64, verse. I'll go straight to the point. Verse 8. Read on. Yeah, verse 8. So they shall make, verse 7. Psalm 64, verse 7. But the Most High God Yahweh shall shoot at them with an arrow. Suddenly they shall be wounded. And that's spiritually, man, symbolic. All right, them being wounded and also being exposed and being, naked. All right, as it says in Isaiah the 13th chapter in verse 2, that this truth has reached unto the gates of the nobles. All right, us lifting up that strong banner to profess the names and the doctrine of Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai. Whether people believe it or not, hey, that's why these things are happening, man. Through the prophecies and through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai, this place is crumbling. All right. Verse 8. So they shall make their own tongue to fall upon themselves. All that see them shall flee away. And that's what these nations are roughly doing. They're fleeing away from the ways of Babylon the Great. That's why the value of the dollar is deteriorating, because majority of these countries are losing and forgetting about the dollar. All right, they're dwelling amongst their own selves and amongst other nations to influence and encourage themselves to increase in their own financial weight. All right, not depending on Babylon the Great. All right, and even with that, the own people, of Babylon the Great, your own governments, all right, CIA agents, FBI, whatever, all these different alphabets of government agencies, they also expose, all right, Babylon the Great. All right, but it was all through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai. That's how you know that the Lord is in control of all things. And the Lord is using us men, mainly the men of Great Millstone that's teaching His truth, our elders and apostles, all right, to express this His word, man. Express the doctrine. All right.
Yeah, I have some real quick. Daniel chapter 2. I make mention of Daniel chapter 7. Okay, going into division amongst going into America, more and more now at this time being divided from NATO. Okay, but this is Daniel chapter 2, verse 40. Okay, Daniel chapter 2, verse 40. And the fourth kingdom shall be strong as iron, for as much as iron breaketh in pieces and subdue all things, and iron that breaketh all these shall break in pieces and bruise. And it says, verse 41, and the iron, that going to the iron part, going to the Roman Empire, okay? In the ancient Roman Empire, where he made mention that, Rome, fell, okay, during the time, after, during the time with Jake after 7 AD.
Yes.
Okay, we know about 7 AD when our people got ran out of Rome, okay, or ran out of Israel, okay, and drilled out people went into the western coast of Africa or Europe, okay, but then you had the 5 good Caesars, which happened when Jake took over, okay, because the Roman Empire had fell, okay, up on the outworld, okay, leading into the time of the Dark Ages, okay, or medieval times, what they would say. Okay, but after the medieval times, then when you had the Renaissance, okay, the rebirth, okay, starting with the Borgia family, roughly during around the time of the 14th century, okay, and that was the Roman Empire being, healed, okay, coming back into power to what we have today, okay, then we know, like I said, going into America, okay, because Daniel the 7th chapter going into about the 3 horns, okay, that took over here in America, which wasn't known as America at that time, okay, but they conquered, okay, the 3 horns going into
I believe the French, the Spanish,
Spain,
and the British. Yeah.
Okay, then America came out of England or Britain, okay, what we have today, okay, hey, but America, and those European nations, okay, when it comes to NATO. At this time, NATO, the EU, America come out of part of the EU, okay, but right before when it came NATO, okay, North Atlantic Treaty Organization, they always been known as the Club of Rome.
Yeah, the Treaty of Rome. Yep.
Okay, show you that they back in the power today.
That's right.
Okay. But it says Daniel chapter 2, verse 40, and it says the fourth kingdom shall be strong as iron, okay, represent the Roman Empire. For as much as iron breaketh in pieces and subdue all things, and as iron that breaketh all these shall it break in pieces and bruise. Okay? Whereas thou sawest the feet and toes, part of pottery clay, and part of iron. The kingdom shall be divided, but there shall be in it the strength of the iron. For as much as thou sawest the iron mixed with clay.
That's NATO and the EU. That's ultimately ruled via through the beast that was wounded, aka America. All right, at the end all be all, because America through the and you can do the history, because throughout through Great Britain, America was established. All right. So while America being established, America established NATO. All right, the EU. It was called the EEC, if I'm not mistaken, or the EEU. All right, going into the economic commerce of the different nations amongst the whole world, man, amongst the whole, upon the whole planet Earth. But through the spirit and power of Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shah, these things came to pass, and this is, current history. All right, that happened. All right, in the past, man. That's how you know.
Now, now NATO we're more and more divided. NATO really was set up to combat against Russia. And we're going to the Cold War, the Soviet Union. Okay, but in Ezekiel chapter 38, we're going to how the Lord put the hooks, okay, in Russia, God, okay, mouth, turning them back. Okay, because the Russians, they're Edomites. Okay, more and more division. Okay, amongst Esau. Okay, and they're gonna play a key part of coming against the West in NATO. Okay, because now you're seeing that NATO, with the whole situation with Ukraine. Okay, and the war with Ukraine and Russia. Okay, because Ukraine is once a part of or is part of the Soviet Union. Okay. Ukraine is owned by Russia, but now NATO, supplying them and aiding them. Now NATO trying to, how I can say it? Now NATO trying to aid
Ukraine.
Now they trying to make Ukraine part of NATO. Yeah. So Russia ain't going for that, because Ukraine is, that's basically they're Russia front door.
Yep.
Okay. So if Ukraine NATO established themselves in Ukraine, okay, that more upper hand of them able to, fight against Russia.
And that's more support via through the West, even though, Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shah is going to put the spirit upon NATO and the EU to utterly destroy Babylon, the great America. And I got a precept right quick. This is Revelation chapter 3 and verse 3. And I saw one of his heads, verse 2. Well, I start at verse 1 and then read on down to verse 3. And I stood upon the sand of the sea and saw a beast rise upon out of the sea, having 7 heads, 10 horns, and upon his horns 10 crowns, upon the heads the name of blasphemy.
Yeah, the 10 horns represent, the vassal states. Okay, but man, the 7 heads going into we got
empires.
The 7 empires when it comes to Europe.
Yep.
Edom when it comes to the Romans. Okay, Spain. Okay, Germany. Okay, French.
Romania, major. That's 5 or 6 right there.
Spain, Rome, Germany, East, and West, minor, like I say, minor Germany and major Germany. Okay, then you have England, Greece. Okay.
Yeah, the Greeks. Yeah,
When you can look it up. The ministers, we touching on history now. Okay.
It's the Germania Major, Germania Minor, the Romans, the French, the Spanish, the German, the British, and the Greeks.
Okay. But now all that's starting to be broken up. Especially now that Trump put their tabs on their own allies. Okay. But main anything when it comes to the destruction of this place, man, it's gonna be the state of Israel that's gonna lead America into this third world war. Okay, that's why you're seeing now more talks of America coming against Iran. Okay, because that's what mainly then when all when this war gonna kick off at. Okay, when America going into debating Iran or doing more strikes on them or putting sanctions on them. Okay, Israel. Okay, helping. Okay, coming against Iran. Okay, that's when more and more Russia, like I say, China and all of them will get involved.
Verse
So we're
2.
just seeing more and more the Lord bringing division amongst the Edomites when it comes to these superpowers.
Verse 2. And the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard, and his feet was like unto of a bear, and his mouth as the mouth of a lion. And the dragon gave him his power and his seat
Break that down.
and a great authority.
And when it comes to the leopard representing the Greek, okay, Esau Edom taking over during the time of the Grecian. Okay, starting with Alexander the Great. Okay, they call themselves Alexander the Greek. And they said the bear was representing Russia. Okay, because that's when it says what the end.
Yeah, the feet, and his feet were as the feet of a bear.
Yeah, going into, because they're going to lead into Russia. Lord putting a spirit on Russia that was bringing destruction to America. Like I said, Israel. Okay, that's going to be an indicator that, eventually Esau Edom going to be taken out of power when Yahweh Shai return. Okay.
In the mouth of a lion, Great Britain.
England,
England.
Yeah.
And the dragon gave him his power, the Roman Empire. All right, going back to that Roman or Greek, emperor or general, Dracon. Okay, roughly paraphrasing that. All right, so all this is history and the timeline of biblical prophecy. That's how you know that these scriptures are faithful and true. All right, but the spirit and power Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai has to be upon us, mainly our elders and apostles of Great Millstone. All right, because we learn these things, man. And throughout, they have these different, ways of the empires, the characteristics, certain idol gods that they have. All right, even going into, even though it's different from Daniel the 7th chapter and Daniel the 2nd chapter, going into the lion, and that represents the Babylonian Empire, all right, aka the Assyrians, all right, because when you look up the Assyrians, part of their god was a half man with a lion head, all right, and you can Google that yourself, man. That's the God that they worship and reference to. All right, so I'm gonna go to Revelation. Revelation 13 and 12.
So we in the times now. There is war. But mainly, Elder Apostle Gabar, Elder Apostle Gabar, Elder Apostle Tahar. Okay, I always made mention before the missile can be launched, that MOTV got to be implemented first. Okay, when it comes to Revelation chapter 13, verse 16. Okay, which is the mark of the beast, the RFID micro. Okay, hey, man, we in the stages of that, man. Everything going cashless, man. Okay, we see how Donald Trump is moving. Okay, what you doing the bidding of these elites? Okay, like I said, with all these tabs, and only gonna lead more and more to America, the economy when it comes to inflation. Okay, inflation is soon, a collapse, man. Okay, because we know that these elites have an agenda, especially when it comes to America. Okay, to be the standard of a cashless society. Okay, and that's what we're moving towards. Yeah, we went into last Friday, okay, which they cut out live and everything. How Trump went into the payment method. Okay, ain't gonna be no more people on checks. Okay, everything gonna be electronic now. Okay, so that just show you more and more they move towards a cashless society.
Gradualism.
Yeah.
Revelation 13 and 12. And verse 12, and he exercised all the power of the first beast, the first beast before him, and caused the earth and them which dwell therein to worship the first beast, whose deadly wound was healed. all right, via through the Roman Empire. All right, that's that beast. Ultimately, hey, Babylon the Great. All right, that was given the strength through the ancient Roman Empire, man. That the deadly wound was ultimately healed, man. All right, and great power was given unto that beast to perform those miracles. All right.
That Elon Musk, since he over the treasury, got the whole those situation, they cut a lot of aid when it comes to certain benefits, when it comes to certain spending. Okay, but Elon Musk make mention about how America is growing 2.0, but this time they ain't gonna fall. They ain't gonna fall like ancient Rome because we got technology. Because they boasting, like once again, they pride, they boasting in the technology, the AI, okay, everything moving towards technocracy. Okay, we got the WEF talking about the fourth industrial revolution. Everything gonna be, like we're going to surveillance, biometric, smart cities, and all that's gonna center around that MOTV. Okay, and the reason why we give a strong warning, okay, start with the men of Great Millstone, okay, not to take that MOTV. Those of you so-called Negro, Latino, Native Americans that take it, yeah, you're gonna be judged. Okay, that we're going into. In this place, America, we're gonna be destroyed by a thermonuclear fight. Okay, according to Revelation chapter 14 and 9.
Continuing on in verse 13, Revelation 13 and 13, and he doth great wonders, so that he make fire come down from heaven on the earth in the sight of man, sight of men.
That's the missiles. Okay, the capability to have thermonuclear missiles. Okay, as we in advanced time now. Okay, they do weapons. That the blessing that you saw. Okay, Revelation with 6 and 4, going into how the Lord gave them the sword and take peace from them.
And also, also going back to Esau's blessing, going back to Genesis the 27th chapter, verse 39 on down to I believe 42. All right, they was going to receive the fatness of the earth through the sword, through the blessing that he had received. All right, through war. All right, colonization. Rape, rob, and murder of different nations, democracies. Yup. All these things that the Edomites, the so-called Caucasian race, that's how they, influence their empires, man.
You got the economic hitman. Okay, going over, the other countries. Certain countries, they got they policy, they laws. Okay, but you saw Edom, they attack them. Okay, when it comes to their leaders, assassination or taking power. Okay, they just put up a puppet. Okay, when it comes to the regime. Okay, to forward. Okay, their agenda, man.
Got a quick precept. This is Habakkuk chapter 2 and verse 5. Verse 4, behold, his soul which is lifted up is not upright in him, but the just shall live by his faith. And that's the soul that is not lifted up. All right, no, the soul that is lifted up but is not upright is Esau Edom, because he's lifted up with pride. All right, he's lifted up with great deceptions and lies, and he ultimately wants to murder whoever comes in his way, pursuing the Psalms, the 55th chapter, verse 20 on down to 21. All right, even though this devil come with so-called smooth words, flattering words, so-called intellectual words, in his heart is full of evil, deceit, and destruction.
This is Psalms chapter 55, verse 21. He says, the words of his mouth were smoother than butter, but war was in his heart.
And that's what he did to the so-called indigenous people over here of America, which ultimately boils down to the 10 tribes, man. All right, pursuing the 2nd Ezra 13th chapter. All right, the 10 tribes that escaped persecution from the Assyrians. All right, going back to 2 Kings, the 17th chapter. Okay, the Northern Kingdom, man. They escaped persecution from the Assyrians, and they came over here thinking that they, was going to fulfill righteousness and the laws, but eventually in due time and in due season they lost their way, and the Lord gathered unto them another nation to put them in subjection once again, man, captivity. All right, and that's all through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shah, letting you know if it's not of the Lord, it will come to naught, man. And either way, hey, it's of the Lord. All right, no matter what. Okay.
And it says, Psalm chapter 55, verse 21, the words of his mouth were smoother than butter, but war was in his heart. His words were softer than oil, yet were they drawn swords.
Hey, matter of fact, I'm gonna read. Yes, the spirit and switch over. I'm gonna read Ecclesiasticus or Sirach chapter 12, verse 10. And it reads, "Never trust thine enemy, for like as iron rusteth, so is his wickedness." Verse 11. "Though he humble himself and go crouching, yet take good heed and beware of him, and thou shalt be unto him as if thou hast wiped a looking glass."
Yeah, God, because you saw Edom, and you see this all enemies.
Yep.
Okay, Psalms the 83rd chapter going to that. Primary number one, you saw Edom. Okay, the enemies of us, man. When it comes to you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. Okay? And then, because our people wonder, yeah, why is so much of a strong dislike or hatred between the so-called blacks and whites? Yeah, because all of it biblical. Okay? And that's how Yahweh Shema Shah set it up, man. Because Lord, Yahweh Shema Shah does deal with separation. Okay? And the Lord is a separatist, man. Okay? And the Lord said we are above all nations. Okay? But due to our disobedience, okay, the Lord put us in captivity, scattered us amongst the nations, okay, kick us out of the land, okay, and put the curses upon us, according to Deuteronomy chapter 28, verses 16 through 16. Okay, and still to this day, our people, you know, they can't fathom, okay, why we in this situation, okay, due to our disobedience, okay, but the beauty of it is the Lord is coming back to elect. It's elected when they have the understanding. Okay, as it says in Romans 11 and 7, the election have attained it and the rest are blind when it comes to the 2/3 of so-called Negro, Latino, Native Americans at this time. Okay, because you got majority of our people now lately, okay, doing these scoffing and scorning and making mockery videos against the Hebrew Israelites. Okay, but that's okay, man. Okay, they just show you that, hey, they ain't part of the elect. Okay, and the Lord ain't dealing with them, man. Okay, the Lord only dealing with the election, okay, that hopeful number that we striving to be part of, man.
Continuing on, this is Sirach or Ecclesiasticus 12 and 11. "Though he humble himself and go crouching, yet take good heed and beware of him."
Yeah, he take good heed of Esau, especially the heinous history, okay, that he did against us, man. And still to this day, man. Okay, look at the prison center. Okay, because majority of our people that's in prison. Okay, look at how the system is set up. Okay, which the word system is a meaning of pit, or the word pit means system. Okay, when it comes to a low state. Okay, because the laws at Isaiah 10 and 1 going into that. Okay, woe to them that, matter of fact, it's unrighteous decrees. Okay, when it comes to this justice system. Okay, when it comes to the justice system, man. Okay, man, this system ain't set up for you Negroes, Latino, Native Americans to prosper, man. Okay, more to keep us on the bottom, man.
This is Isaiah chapter 10, verse 1. "Woe unto them that describe unrighteous decrees, and that write grievousness which they have prescribed."
Yeah, but they prescribe. Prescribe, meaning, you know, the executive orders, now Trump, man, you know, pushing all these executive orders now, man. Prescribe.
Yep.
Okay, so right before he, signed it, they already had it in mind, and this is what we're gonna do. Okay, and it ain't nothing but good for you so-called Negro, Latinos, Native Americans. Okay, when we going into look at the situation, how America, when it comes to so-called Negro, Latinos, Native Americans. Okay, we always say the last hire, first fire. Okay, a lot of our people in poverty. Okay, hey, once again the curses, man, and they help forward it when it comes to the, certain benefits or certain leaders, puppet leaders, sellouts and all that, man. Okay, amongst these churches, the religion aspect. Okay, when it comes to these black public figures. Okay, and look at it, the industry when it comes to music, hip hop. Okay, the drill music. Okay, you see it when the majority of our people that that follow that, and they take on that type of lifestyle. And you got simple Negro Latino Native Americans that sell out and push that, just for money. With the average so-called Negro Latino Native Americans, yeah, they actually live, try to live after that alternative lifestyle. Okay, that leading to more and more destruction, incarceration and all that. Man. Okay, Esau Edom is as it says in Sirach chapter 12, man. Esau Edom is the head of it, man.
Verse 2, Isaiah 10:2, to turn aside the needy from judgment and to take away the right from the poor of my people.
Poor of my people, to take away the right. Okay, so these so-called Negro Latino Native Americans, we ain't got no right here in America. Okay, we got what they would say privilege, or permission. Okay, but we already know how the system is set up through Social Security. Okay, through the birth certificates. Okay, because when it comes out to the job, license. Okay, that when it comes to our people, even though Esau Edom trying to state the whole world. Okay, but the majority of his people they catching hell or not. Okay, but mainly how about Shemal Shalom is concerned about the nation of Israel. Man. These other nations, the Lord say you don't even see them. Okay, or he see them insignificant. Okay, Lord, how about Shemal Shalom said about precious people, man. Okay, the special people, particular people. Okay, when it comes to Israel. So these other nations, the Lord don't give a damn about them.
Verse 2 again, Isaiah 10:2, to turn aside the needy from judgment and to take away the right from the poor of my people, that widows may be their prey.
Oh yeah, you see that now. Widows. Widow, what's the word widow mean? When a woman, lost her husband, okay, died, so she single now, becoming a widow. Okay, but then you seen that with the majority when it comes to our women. Okay, when it comes to this whole feminist, okay, majority of our women with single parent homes and all that. Okay, that all is done by design when it comes to Esau Edom. Okay, to remove the so-called, Negro Latino Native American man from out of the household. That all goes into the curses. They lead the women there to depend on the government. Okay, that's why now you're seeing more and more when it comes to single parent homes. A lot of these women they don't have no guidance. Okay, the children. Okay, especially the male sons, the sons. Okay, being mislead. Okay, a lot of males. Okay, sons. When it comes to Israel, a lot of like we going into their generation curses. They grow up being prisoners. We call it incarcerated. A lot of our men are growing up being feminine. Okay, due to they don't have no father figure. Okay, in the household, a lot of our men are being moles. That's like a damn plague now. Especially when it comes to the so-called Negro Latino Native American men. Okay, a lot of our men are mama boys, Queen of Heaven worship. Okay, do all type of wickedness.
Continuing on, that widows may be their prey, and that they may be robbed the fatherless.
Yeah, the fatherless. The fatherless. Okay, when it comes to majority of our people. Okay, especially when it comes to the sons of Israel at this time. Okay, the daughters as well, man. Look how our daughters are coming up, man. Being whores, being hoes. When it comes to the end of, they know that's a known thing now. That's okay.
That's being glorified. You know, women, because the main thing, because I remember even growing up, you know, the grandmothers and the mothers, the main thing they love to tell their daughters and granddaughters, girl, there's always more opportunity out there for you. You know, live your dreams. You don't have to be tied down to a man. You don't have to live for a man, but okay, according to the scriptures, hey, they're teaching the complete opposite. But ultimately, that's thanks to Esau Edom. All right, dealing with this feminist. All right, and they ultimately systematically designed all that on purpose.
You got the women there, our women there, mainly talking about my body, my choice.
Yeah.
You know about they're known for our women. I'm trying to read the word, be careful.
Oh, when they
Because,
all
you know,
alive and they unborns.
Yeah.
They known for that, man. And honestly, they glorify it and they talk about it like it's just a regular day conversation.
Hey, we're going into the industry, the hip hop industry. Okay, now you're starting to see now a lot of female rappers amongst our people now, you know, being more influenced and supposed to be. They say influence, they ain't no influence. They influencing wickedness. Okay, like it's Sexy Red and Megan Thee Stallion, you know, they pushing it, you know, more the misbehavior. Okay, or wickedness when it comes to our women, man. And our women all into it. Okay, they justify it, man.
Going back in Habakkuk, chapter 2.
Yeah, cause you know, these things may get you to the point of boiling, man. And that's why the Lord say Ezekiel chapter 9 and 4, those that sign cry for all the abominations that be done in the midst of the okay, see how the state about okay, you see Esau eating ruling and wicked and these heathens, man.
This is Habakkuk chapter 2 and verse 4 again. Behold, his soul which is lifted up is not upright in him. All right, that's talking about Esau Edom. All right, lifted up with pride, great deception. All right, lofty in his looks. But the just shall live by his faith, ultimately the elect. But as a whole, the just is the Israelites. All right, because we are the just nation through the Spirit and power of Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai that was given the laws, statutes, and commandments. But only the elect will receive this wisdom, knowledge, and understanding of the truth, and knowing Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai and serving them. Verse 5. Yea, also because he transgressed by wine, he is a proud man, neither keepeth at home, who enlargeth his desire as hell.
Going into that. Okay, it's wine represents his philosophies. Okay, you know, policies, democracy. Okay, we're going into the colonization, the economic hitman. Like saw, you know, set up, you know, a lot of these come to the military, okay, to go out different parts of the earth, okay, to cause havoc, okay, to gain, you know, the resources of other nations. Okay, that's why the scripture said we is a proud man. Okay, we need them keep it at home, man. Okay, with that Michael, how he said that, how you oppress, yeah. And so that known for Esau Edom when it comes to wickedness. Read that again.
This is Habakkuk chapter 2 and verse 5. Yea, also he transgressed by wine, he is a proud man, neither keepeth at home, who enlargeth his desire as hell, and is as death, and cannot be satisfied, but gathereth unto him all nations, and heapeth unto him all people.
Especially now, you want to gather all nations, okay, heap unto him. Okay, when it comes to mainly this NWO, when they introduced that MOTV, okay, worldwide, man. Okay, he want everybody electronically stamp or tag, man. Okay, that's the time that we're coming into. Okay, that shows you the madness of Esau. Okay, that he want to stamp all nations every individual. Okay, they show you how far going he is. Man. Okay? Yeah, but that through his pride, man. Okay? And that all that gonna be backed up by the way of the sport. Okay, if we don't, decide to take this MOTB, this is judgment according to Esau, this is what the consequences or the penalty you're gonna have to face. Man. Okay, you ain't gonna be able to bow yourself. Okay, you ain't gonna be able to conduct yourself. Okay, in the new norm. Okay, when a society. Okay, you will be labeled as a an outcast or terrorism. Okay, you got put you in the concentration camps, etc. After they start coming with the execution methods and all that. So because they always been his MO. They had to come with the sword. Okay, and destroy people's societies, man. And get them up under their rule, man. Okay, but he can't rest. So this says in Micah, I'm gonna look into.
Micah 2. Micah chapter 2, verse 1. Woe to them that devise iniquity and work evil upon their beds. Mm-hmm. When the morning is light, they practice it, because it is in the power of their hand.
Yeah, we're in the time now. The power, okay, is until Esau Edom at this time. Okay.
Verse.
He can't rest. He can't rest until then. He got to cause some type of bloodshed, or some type of catastrophe. Okay, so he can be justified, man. So he can get more and more the upper hand of control. Man.
Verse 2. And they covet fields and take them by violence, and houses and take them away. So they oppress a man and his house, even a man and his heritage.
Look, you see, especially now. Okay, becoming the time of more and more, where they didn't want to bring more oppression. Okay, especially when it comes to the so-called Negro, Latinos, and Native Americans. Okay, like I said, we're going into the MOTB. Yeah, but that MOTB implemented, man, to the fullest, man, that ain't nothing but oppression, man. Okay, but you got Israelite camps out there talking about something. The MOTB is not the RFID micro. It's something spiritual. It's sin itself. Ain't gonna be no physical device. Okay, and wait till it implemented, man. You're gonna see how much more oppression it's gonna be. I think we're being oppressed now. Okay, with all hell breathers, man. With their martial law. Okay, detention centers. Okay? Yeah, but that you saw the mind frame. Okay, to take over in wickedness. Okay, when unjust. Okay? At least when we take over through the spirit and power we have by Shemal Shah. Okay, also the hope for that. They're gonna be in righteousness, man. Okay? Except Esau, he gonna catch it. And for 1,000 years, man, and we're gonna be putting foot to his ass, man.
That's right.
Okay, a scepter to his head. All work. Okay, Lord say he's gonna put double upon them, man. Okay, but they're gonna be in righteousness, man. Okay, ain't gonna be no foulness how Esau Edom is doing, man.
This is Salakia. 2nd Ezra chapter 9, verse 1. Going into the prophecies, because at the end all be all, we're speaking of these things, and this is the future, all right, of Babylon the Great, America, but ultimately of the heathen nations and Esau Edom mainly, man, roughly paraphrasing. Speaking of Esau Edom and these other nations that's going to be in subjection and under bondage under the so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, Seminole, and in a sense, so-called Haitians and Jamaicans, the Israelites, under, our Lord and Savior, Yahweh Shah HaMashiach.
Like you say, you're saying, coming to the downfall of America. This is where the prophecies, mainly, the Lord raised up the prophets to come out and teach. Okay, we ain't make mention of the latest IUIC and
12 Tribes Worldwide little platform they got going on, which is a failure.
Yeah, Bishop Nathaniel, the incident when he went out there to Kenya, him and his men, and basically, them Hamites, okay, got rough with them. Okay, got rough with them, man. Okay, which they ain't supposed to be over there, man. Okay, but we know IUIC, they all about the bloom and the gleam and, you know, to be seen of men. Okay, they got to get more views, you know, got to make more of it, all about prosperity. Okay, but when they went over there to Kenya, they had turned out bad for them, man.
Okay.
Got tear gas thrown at them. A couple of men had to go to the hospital to be treated for certain minor injuries. Okay, and the Lord really showed mercy. Okay, but Bishop Nathaniel, they went all the way over there to Kenya to put some damn Jesus Christ. Okay, because IUIC known to them pushing Jesus Christ or Most High Christ bless. Okay, which we know that was not the name of the Heavenly Father and the Son. Okay, when it comes to the Hebrew, okay, they don't teach the Hebrew. Even though 25 plus years ago, Bishop Nathaniel, we've been part of the HODC or the House of David. He taught the names. Okay, went into it perfectly. Okay, but now, this time now, he scoffed and scorned, make mockery of the names of the Heavenly Father and the Son, being in the Hebrew. Okay, because we know that majority of them, most likely, he done sold out. Okay, around on what a lot of these false Israelite camps. Okay, but Lord made an example. Okay, of IUIC over there in Kenya. Okay, but mainly this was where the prophets are going to be raised up, teach the word. But this was mainly salvation. The main salvation going to take place. Even though you have Israelites scattered abroad. Okay, when it comes to the elect, the bishop elect will be delivered worldwide. Okay, according to Matthew 24 chapter, verses 29 through 31. Okay, but when it comes to the main deliverance, it's going to take place over here in America. Okay, that's why the truth is more and more potent, to come out here in America. Okay, because this is where the main destruction is going to take place.
2 Ezra chapter 9 verse 1. He answered me then and said, measure thou the time diligently in itself, and when thou seest part of the signs past, which I have told thee before. Verse 2, then shalt thou understand that it is the very same time wherein the highest will begin to visit the world which he made. Therefore, when there shall be seen earthquakes and uproars of the people in the world.
Okay, yeah, so earthquakes. You got earthquakes hitting down on certain states. Okay,
in California hit like a 4.4. You had a 7.7 over there in Thailand, and through the Spirit, I did a video because there was some Americans that was over there, some streamers, influencers, that got caught up in the midst of it, man. Letting you know, hey,
they watched the whole
building.
The whole building down that fell. I think I seen that too.
And they building could have failed. It could have failed, but I don't know the end all be all what happened in that video, but ultimately it boils down to Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai. Anytime at any moment, the Lord can bring judgment. Just like how he can bring Jacob's trouble, the MOTB, all right, World War III, because all these are the beginning of sorrows. We're seeing the beginning stages of before all hell breaks loose. The calm before the storm, as people like to say. All right.
But now we're coming into time, the spring and summer, people, being, outdoors now. You got the parties, the clubs, your usual bread and circus. Okay. People being, more and more, inspired, to go out now, and you got graduations, family reunion, vacation coming up now. Okay, spring, like we're going to spring break. Okay, when it comes to your average so-called Americans, average so-called Negro, Latino, Native Americans. Okay, that being in the state of comfort. Matter of fact, that's with 1 Thessalonians 5 and 1
down 3. Yep.
Yeah, because now Trump ain't pushing no safety. Even though he there, showing his ass, his red ass. Okay, but man, majority of our people now they starting to see with these as Trump pushing these tariffs now, they talking about 10% to about 50%. Okay, Okay, I read a source, a post when they were talking about some, now more and more, we closer to like 60% of a recession now.
Man. Yeah,
Okay, due to,
more
you know,
than that.
the prices and everything about to go up due to the tariffs, man. Okay? That one gonna be bad for, for you Americans. Let me get, this is 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, verse 1. But of the times and seasons, brethren, ye have no need that I write unto you, for yourself know perfectly that the day of the Lord so cometh as a thief in the night.
Yep. And that's how the day of the Lord gonna come, unexpected. All right, the least expected. All right, and that's why pursuing to certain precepts, pursuing to Matthew the 24th, Luke, I believe, the 17th chapter, when it says, in the days of Noah, or as in the days of Noah, all things continue as they were. All right, people are going to continue in their everyday life until judgment really slaps them in the face. All right, reality is going to really hit them, and then at that point, it's going to be too late because the grace period is right here, right now, as the prophets are out here, being out here on the highways and hedges, speaking truth, prophesying, all right, prophesying unto the winds and to the other nations. But mainly the message is for you so-called blacks, Hispanics, Native Americans, Seminole Indian descent, all right, you Israelites, man.
Hey, our people ain't gonna require it too late, man. Okay, because now we have, out here, we got people, walking by, but they ain't inquiring.
Nope.
How many times that, the Lord, have his men out here week in and week out, they see the prophets, okay, but they're not taking heed, man. Okay, they ain't gonna take heed till when all hell breaks loose. But they're gonna come upon the time the Lord gonna remove his men. It's gonna be too late, man. Okay, so that's brother your call faith. This is the time now, and when it comes to the grace period. And ourselves, we preparing. Okay, as it says, Isaiah chapter 33, verse 6, for wisdom and knowledge should be the stability of our times. Okay, the times that, as we're approaching or enter into the time being in the midst of Jacob's trouble. Okay? It says, 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, verse 2, for yourselves know perfectly that the day of the Lord so cometh as a thief in the night. For when they shall say peace and safety, then sudden destruction cometh upon them, as travail upon a woman with child, and they shall not escape. Okay, so we coming in that time. Okay, ain't gonna be no more peace or safety. Okay, but you got this government, trying to push. Okay, they ain't really saying peace and safety now.
No, everything quiet.
Yeah, everything, kind of, quiet, but they, even though, Trump, everything gonna get better after these tariffs, after these sanctions, the economy gonna bounce back.
Those are those smooth words.
Man.
All right, softer than oil, because he knows, hey, that's what the people love to hear. Lies and deceit. All right, comfortability. All right, so that's why when it says in 1 Thessalonians 5 and 3, when they shall say peace and safety, all right, the people think they're in a good state. All right, to your politicians that sit there and lie to you, and you believe that shit, man. All right, but at the same time, prices look. It's so funny because they be the same people asking the same goddamn prices, just working in a retail store. Why is the prices going up? Honest the truth, you have to take that with your local government, if you really think about it, and your local senators and your local politicians. All right, us just working at the grocery stores, or even us coming out here prophesying of these things. Hey, us being the prophets, we already know why these things are happening. All right, but at the end all be all, hey, there's no healing for Babylon the Great. Roughly paraphrasing, man, just the end all, disagreements, debates, so on and so forth. Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai has settled this place to be destroyed. All right, on every side, economically, morally, spiritually, for the 2/3 to be lost. All right, and so on and so forth, man.
I'm looking at the second Ezra. You can hold that one too. They said that they're gonna be comfortable. I know it's 7.
I just second Ezra 8. You keep looking for it. This is second Ezra chapter 8 and verse 50. Eight and 50. For many great miseries shall be done to them in the latter time, shall dwell in the world, because they are walked in great pride. And that's why all these things are happening. All right, because of great pride being in the world. All right, majority of our people, all right, walk in great pride. Esau, Edom walks in great pride. All these heathen nations walk in great pride because, hey, ultimately, wickedness is ruling the planet Earth via through the spiritual demon Satan, all right, which are being, Satan is controlling the physical counterpart, the Edomites, Esau, Edom. All right, you had that place up?
Yeah. And then I'm gonna think about second Ezra, but then Ecclesiasticus chapter 5, verse 7. It says, "Make no tarrying to turn to the Lord, and put not off from day to day, for suddenly shall the wrath of the Lord come forth, and in thy security thou shalt be destroyed and perish in the day of vengeance."
And that's what's going to happen upon you Babylonians. All right, mainly speaking to our people, because, the hell with the heathens, of course. But this message is towards the Israelites.
Yeah,
So-called
salvation.
salvation is only for, salvation is only for the Israelites. All right? And like it said, make no tarrying to turn to the Lord. Remember the Lord in the days of thy youth, before the evil days draw nigh. Ecclesiastes chapter 12, verse 1. All right, but we're in the book of Sirach right now, chapter 5, verse 7. All right, letting you know to make no tarrying, that this grace period is right here, right now, and mercy is right here, man. All right, and right here, right now, as speaking up to the time, because sooner or later to come, the Lord is going to close those doors, and judgment is going to rain upon Babylon the Great on every side, like we always preach. All right, the judgments of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai is slowly but surely coming to pass. All right, going back to Habakkuk chapter 2, verse 3. Though it tarry, wait for it will surely come, it will not tarry. And your people are going to be in pitiful cases in that day. All right, anybody that's outside of the election of the nation of Israel. All right, so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, Seminole, Indian descent.
That's it, man.
Yeah, I had 2 Peter chapter 3, verse 3, and the point is in 4. Knowing this first, that there shall come in the last days scoffers, walking after their own lusts.
Oh, you see that now?
Yep, very
heavy.
heavy.
Coming here with Jordan our people, man. Okay, y'all don't knock the top box. Okay, man, lately been going into, putting up, compilation of videos. And when it comes to so-called Negroes, Latino, Native Americans, mainly damn Negroes, okay, doing these videos of scoffing and scorning when it comes to debunking the Hebrew Israelites. Okay, but now this word has been, going viral. Okay, but majority of our people, the Lord just, is showing us the true ignorance. Okay, it's only our people, man. Okay, he'll be there telling you that we the greatest people here on the earth. We're the Lord chosen people. Okay, we're Israel. Okay, He Prince of Power. Yahshua. How the Lord gonna favor us.
Yep.
Okay, the Lord gonna be with us. When it comes to righteousness.
Yep.
But our people ain't hell. Now we ain't want nothing to do with that. But that's okay. But we know once again, everything reincarnated. That them same jakes, or so-called Negro, Latino, Native American, that come against the truth now. And they came against the truth back in their past life. Always there, came against the truth when it comes to the 2/3. And now you start to see that heavily now. Okay? And when it comes to majority of people that scoff and scorn, and get on video, okay, or putting up videos, about how they feel. Okay, when it comes to the Hebrew Israelites, which majority of them, they don't even know the scriptures. Okay, because the Lord, like I said, the Lord is blind. Majority of them, they ain't even, especially Christians, they don't even read the Bible. Okay, as the other apostles of heart and the rest of the brothers been saying, man, when it comes to the Hebrew Israelites, we the ones up you Christians gain.
Yeah.
When it comes to going into the scriptures, man. Okay? So that's why Yahweh Shah say, bless the he that read it. Okay? And all that, understand, all that,
all the getting understanding.
Okay? And that's all through the spirit and power Yahweh Shah Shah. Okay, but the majority of people, man, they come against this truth, man. Okay, it's going to deal with their emotions. Okay, because we know this truth. Okay, the words of Yahweh Shah, and we know the bitter, the sweet part, but we know about the bitter. Okay, and the majority of people, they can't accept the bitter.
This is, okay, back in 2 Peter chapter 2, verse 4. Then I got a precept. And saying, where is the promise of his coming? For since the fathers fell asleep, all things continue as they were from the beginning of the creation.
Yeah, and that's the majority of people mind from. Yeah, the Bible, it falls. It's written by so-called white man, plagiarized. Okay, it's a fable. Okay, yeah, that's what they say. Okay, now we ain't the Hebrew Israelites, we Africans, Hispanic, Latino, Native Americans. Okay, majority of people there, the reason why they can't accept the scriptures because they condemn Esau Edom.
Yeah, mainly.
Mainly, they see the nations.
Gone.
Okay, because due to Stockholm Syndrome, okay, when it comes to plantation Christianity, okay, they believe that all nations can be saved. Still to this day, majority of people still believe that what the world called Christ is a so-called white man. God is a so-called white man. Okay? So once again, they destroyed Hosea 4 and 6. They destroyed for a lack of knowledge. Okay, the lack of understanding. Okay, when it comes to these scriptures. Okay, but really that's the Lord blinding them, man. Okay, that's why they can't accept. Okay, the words of Yahweh Shah or the prophets that's out here teaching the correct way. Okay, that's why they scoff and scorn. Okay, a lot of people been the main ones always come against the prophets. Okay, Yahweh Shah said they the prophet killers. Okay, always been known for our people to come against us. Okay, to come against Yahweh Shah. Okay, but now the time the Lord got something for them when it comes to the 2/3. Okay, the Lord said He ain't gonna touch His prophets no more. You ain't gonna cause His prophets no harm. Okay, the prophets ain't gonna be pushing the corner no more, man. Okay, this time the Lord gonna give the prophets the upper hand, man. Okay, Jeremiah 16:16. Okay, from all part of time, one part of time, back in the ancient days, they were known for putting their hands on the prophets. Yeah. But now the Lord said, now He gonna lift up that standard. He gonna raise them up, man, in the times that we in. That's why it says on Psalms 110, my people shall be with me, and then they had our power, man.
And ultimately, you people are going to learn the hard way, also, especially through Esau Edom showing that great wrath and that great sword. All right, Revelation 6 and 4, also Revelation 12 and 12, man. Yahweh Shem Yahushua is going to execute that great judgment, and also He's going to use the prophets, the men of the Lord, giving them and receiving unto them spiritual powers to fuck you people up too. All right, so it's not, all you scoffers and scorners, you can talk as much as you want to talk right now, but just best to believe that consequences is going to happen unto you. All right, every idle word you're going to give an account thereof. Matthew 12 and 36. I got put something. This is Jeremiah chapter 6 and verse 16. Thus saith the Lord, Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, stand ye in the ways and see and ask for the old paths, where is the good way, and walk therein, and ye shall find rest for your souls. But they said, we would not walk therein.
Yeah, so the only way you can find it through the men of Yahweh Shah.
Yep.
Okay, when it comes to the prophets, okay? Mainly talking to the men of Great Millstone and the brother on down, those that truly out there teaching. Okay, but majority of people, like I said, they'll look for, hey man, why this happening to us as a nation? Okay, but when the truth is presented to them, okay, they get offended. Okay, the majority of people get offended, they can't accept it. Okay, when it comes to the reason why we're in this situation, due to us being disobedient, going off as a nation. Okay, following after false gods. Okay, idol worship, going into the heathenistic customs of these other nations, these heathens. Okay, and we tell them about repenting. Okay, they don't want to take heed. Okay, the scripture says that when it comes to the law, statutes, commandments, to the majority of our people is grievous. Okay, they ready to do wickedness. They feel good, feel they lust, okay, or they flesh. Okay.
Verse 17, Jeremiah chapter 6 and 17. Also I set watchmen over you, saying, hearken to the sound of the trumpet. But they said we will not hearken. All right, and that trumpet ultimately warning and giving that sound alarm of destruction, of war, evil, pestilence, going back to Jeremiah 28 and 8. All right, that's what the prophets have been set up to do. All right, to bring forth that judgment coming from Yahweh Shem Yahushua, Ezekiel chapter 3 and 17, and also Ezekiel 33, verse 30 on down to 33, man. How you gonna know that a prophet had been among you, Salakia? All right, roughly paraphrasing. And that's the times we're living in. So through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shem Yahushua, man, the Lord is using his prophets to give that warning. But 2/3 are gonna be, the 2/3, niggas are just gonna be niggas. All right, scoffers and scorners, but the elect will obtain it.
And Apostle Paul did a video earlier about these non-believers that come against the truth. And his response was, it just as his response is, it just as us, as the truth. And we don't give a shit about
Yeah,
them.
we really don't. We really don't.
Hey, damn them. We just grateful that the Lord Yahweh Shah gave us the understanding, bless us with this wisdom, knowledge, understanding of the truth.
That's right.
And now that we got an advantage over the average so-called Negro, like Native American, when it comes to salvation. Okay, when it comes to knowing the truth and the trial and tribulation, the hell you go through. Okay, hey, but we better rejoice in our suffering when it comes to serving Yahweh Shah, because we know the outcome. Okay, we working for an incorruptible crown. Man. Okay, majority of our people, man, they don't see the blessings that's ahead of being an Israelite, man. Okay, or pertaining to salvation, man. Okay, they want to be in the way of this world, man. They want to do all types of wickedness that's going to lead to their destruction. Okay, but we fear Yahweh Shah. We want to be delivered, man. Okay, but we know how Yahweh Shah, how terrible the Lord can be. Okay, and the Lord will bring forth more and more judgment, as it says in Zephaniah 3 and 5. Okay, the Lord bring forth judgment every day. Okay, 3 and 5, I think Zephaniah 3 and 5.
You gotta be right
Get that knock on. Get that real quick. Now, I got Joel 2:1.
there. I got Zephaniah 3 and 5.
3 and 5.
Zephaniah chapter 3, verse 5. The just Lord Yahweh Shem Yahushua is in the midst thereof. He will not do iniquity. Every morning doth he bring his judgment to light. He faileth not, but the unjust knoweth no shame.
Every day. How much shall okay. And majority of our people, man, they say that we say the unjust
Knoweth no shame.
no shame. Okay? Because when we see judgment happen, a lot of people get jacked up, or these kids get jacked up, killed, graphic, judgment. Okay, the first thing we think about it is, man, Lord, have mercy. Have mercy upon us. Have mercy upon us, deliver us. Okay, keep us covered, keep us shielded. Okay, for your wrath, man. Especially in the time we know they're going to get more and more worse every day. Okay, Lord, bring judgment. When you figure that out, people, man, they don't have no shame, man.
They don't consider.
They don't consider. They don't consider. They want to furthermore do more wickedness because they feel like they're untouchable. Okay, so Lord actually touch them. Okay, physically, man, with a great judgment. Okay, then they gonna want to damn Lord have mercy. I want to seek the Lord. I gotta go to church now. Okay, which they going to church, man. They even furthermore.
Kingdom to hell, man. And leading in further spiritual debt. All right, because these churches, they're not teaching you the truth, man. All right, and there was an article not too long ago, I remember the brothers that put in the group chat, you know, a couple of months back, how these mega churches are losing, not preachers, it's people in congregation. And that's also another indicator with Marvin said.
That
nigga won a total of 40 bands, $40,000.
Shut the damn.
Lock the doors
Lock
on
the doors,
it, you know?
40,000, man.
Yup. $1,000 from all his, no, not $1,000, $20 from all his congregation. But, and it's so crazy because technically, all his congregation could have did that. $20, technically they could have did that. You know, even if they put in 10, everybody put in 10, that's still a good bit, because he had over 1,000 people, 1,000 followers. But that lets you know also that these people, you know, in the churches mainly are fucking money hungry, man. They don't give a fuck about you people and your salvation and teaching the truth. They really don't.
Been saying about pull pimps.
Pulpit pimps, prophet pimps, you know, preacher pimps and all that shit. They just pimps it, but just, you know, trying to use the word of the Lord, man. Roughly paraphrasing. You know, give you a few scriptures and tell you to, you know, pull out that money if you're trying to get a blessing. Roughly paraphrasing. That's what they do. Nothing but prosperity. Like I said, that's why me personally, and I'm glad the Lord put the spirit on my mom to stop going to fucking church, man. When I'm younger. All right, he talk about prosperity, keep praying. Still poor. Still living paycheck to paycheck. You know, my mom and shit. Still under, you know, poverty, projects. When we came into the truth, we understand that we're going to be in this condition until Lord Yahweh shall come back. That's the faith.
We found out that the Lord ain't dealing with these churches.
These are these fucking heathens too. All right, the people that's outside of the so-called blacks, Hispanics, Native Americans, Seminole Indian, so-called Haitians and Jamaicans, man. All right, according to your father's lineage, if that's outside of that, you are not an Israelite, and the Lord does not love you, man. And even with that, the Lord still despised 2/3, a majority of his people, but still going to have mercy upon them.
Yeah, because they'll have to come back in the kingdom. Because we get on the 2/3, okay, which is scripture, or Zechariah chapter 13, verse 8. Okay, but we understand also that the 2/3 of our people, once again, everything is reincarnation. Okay, they're going to perish on this side, or in this lifetime, they're going to come back in the kingdom, being the offspring or the sons and daughters of the elect. Okay, once the kingdom is established here on the earth, man. Okay, I got this real quick. Joel chapter 2, verse 1. Blow ye the trumpet in Zion, sound the alarm in my holy mountain.
Yep.
Let all the inhabitants of the land tremble, for the day of the Lord Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai cometh, for it is nigh at hand.
Also, I get it, Zephaniah. I'm gonna hold Zephaniah 1. Matter of fact, read that again. Read that again, somebody.
Joel chapter 2, verse 1. And it says, blow ye the trumpet in Zion, sound the alarm in my holy mountain.
The holy mountain represents Israel. All right, we're blowing the trumpet of war, evils, and pestilence that's about to come upon Babylon the Great. Hey, like the scriptures say, the day of the Lord is at hand. And that is a future prophecy that is soon about to come to pass. That has not happened yet. All right, to you know, unbelievers and you scoffers out there. Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai has set this up for the latter end, the latter time of Esau Edom's rulership. All right, that's going to destroy his empire and his kingdom.
That's when it makes sense. So it makes it like you say, go in terror, you ain't terror no more. Chapter 2. Okay, but the scriptures also say that the Lord is slow to anger, but great in wrath.
Right.
And so, you know, it might seem like there ain't nothing happening, you know, especially to majority of our people are here in America. Okay, but when the Lord slow to anger, great in wrath. Once that wrath happen, man, you gonna know.
You're gonna wish that you had just a few seconds to give heed to the words of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai once that judgment be implemented, man. That's how serious it's gonna get in Babylon the Great. All right, no matter, you you live in the countryside, all right, you live in a population that got a couple 100,000 in the cities, 1,000,000 people in the state, or under a couple thousands here and there. At the end all be all, judgment is going to reach unto the whole land of Babylon the Great. Amos chapter 5 verse 18 on down to 19. All right, and that's just how the Lord operates, man. You cannot escape Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai's wrath and judgment. So I'm gonna read Zephaniah chapter 1 verse 14. The great day of the Lord, Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai, is near. It is near and hasteth greatly. Even the voice of the day of the Lord Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai.
The voice of the Lord is the prophets out here. How where's the Bible? They start with the apostles, the elders, bishops, the men of great millstone, running on down. Okay, those that's out there truly teaching. Okay.
Continuing on. Even the voice of the day of the Lord Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai, the mighty man shall cry there bitterly.
Yeah, the mighty man going into these tough dudes.
Yep.
Okay, starting you saw military.
Yep.
Okay, you got
Game bangers. These
thugs.
As the new term, the YNs. And it's so funny because we all know and understand when the YNs get behind bars and be incarcerated, hey, they become certain inmates females, bro. Because at the end of the day, nobody really taught them, or they never learned how to really pick up their fist and throw a punch and to receive punches. All they know is Glocks, ARPs, and as they call them, switchianas, or as a switch, which makes a semi-automatic into an automatic weapon, which is automatically 10 plus years. Everybody knows about that shit now. Everybody want to be a gangster, want to be tough. Everybody want to have the biggest guns and all that. But hey, women. Oh yeah, they
fight a dude. I do a dude. They fight men now.
Yeah.
You got women now. You got more cases of. You got women when it comes to certain cases, women shooting men and shooting other women, shooting people and all that. They want to they boss bitch, gangster lifestyle. When it comes to that, even women, man,
want to be gangster bulls and shit.
Yeah.
That's why I say, man. Hey, that's why. Hey, we hasten that day. We cannot wait till your greatest fear comes upon you. All right, but that's when you're gonna fucking humble yourself, man. And through that, you're gonna know it by death by pain. The Lord is gonna fucking kill you and destroy you people for wanting to be there, and those type of individuals and live that type of lifestyle, man. Roughly paraphrasing.
Mighty man,
cry there bitterly.
The bitter that you got, some people in there like mighty bodybuilders and all that.
And them the weakest niggas too. Yeah.
Them
niggas weak, man. Be emotional over women. You have niggas that do time and always in the gym, but they weak to women. Yeah, it is, man. Continuing on.
That's why we got the saying. Brains over bronze.
Oh yeah.
Coach, brothers work out and everything.
Yeah. Keep in shape.
But main thing, Lord deal with the mental.
Yep.
Okay, when it comes to the spirit and power of Yahweh Hashem, when it comes to the prophets.
That's
okay,
right.
When it comes to the men. Yeah, because the house of David, okay, which is another way of saying the elect. The house of David ain't no weak men.
No.
Okay, the Lord raising up the house of David at this time. Okay, through the spirit and power of Yahweh Hashem, spiritually. Physically, they're going to raise brothers up. But ultimately, that eventually we're going to be changed just to the hopeful elect when Yahweh shall return and deliver us from out of this sinful flesh. Right? Okay, because this flesh is subject to weakness and mainly on sin.
Verse 15. That day is a day of wrath, a day of trouble and distress, a day of wasteness and desolation, a day of darkness and gloominess.
Yeah, especially when it comes to this place of America being destroyed by the way of thermal fire, wasteness. Okay, by the missiles. Okay, they all going to take Yahweh Hashem Shai 1 hour to destroy this place, man. Okay, by the way, the missiles and the chariots. Okay, according to we read Revelation 18. Okay, how the it's only gonna take Lord 1 hour. You can keep reading. I can.
Continuing on, Zephaniah chapter 1:15, a day of clouds and thick darkness. Verse 16, a day of the trumpet and alarm against the fenced cities and against the high towers. Yep. Yeah, come. And that all parabolically boils down to Babylon the Great. All right, being exposed. All right, let me read that again. Verse 16, Zephaniah 1:16, a day of the trumpet and alarm against the fenced cities and against the high towers. All right, that like I said, that represents Babylon the Great. All right, America having those high towers because these are the clefts of the rocks dwelling on high. All right, their own defense system is going to be weak. All right, they're not going to work in that day, dealing with the the fences. All right, dealing with the cities being protected. All right, this place is going to be full out exposed, especially during the time of nuclear missiles raining upon this place, man. And also pursuing the Isaiah 66, verse 15 on down to 16, man. How by the fire and by the chariots of the Lord, the slain of the Lord shall be many, roughly paraphrasing. All right.
Like I said, this place is through, man. When it comes to the military forces, you got the average Americans, they ain't willing to fight for this country no more. Okay, that's why now they got to come with the draft. Okay, the people that the majority of people are the average American. That talking about they going to join the military. Majority of them, they doing it for to seek benefits.
Yeah.
Okay, they ain't really putting themselves. They ain't really putting themselves in the position of possibly after then go to war, which means the time of America about to go into war. Yep. Okay. That's why a lot of these simple Americans that join the military, especially so-called Negro Latino Native Americans at this time, okay, that's why they got to turn amongst the military jarheads, okay,
empty-minded vessels, all right, that's going to be used and controlled for war, all right. But that's the only reason why you people, that's the reason why Yahweh Hashem Yahushua set up you people to enter into the military, enter into that draft. All right, so on and so forth. Even though you may think, oh, this is for my future of my family. I want to build a legacy. All right, I want to go to college. I want my college to be paid for. So on and so forth. These are the benefits. Some of the benefits of going into these branches of government via the military. But even with that, you still have stories and experience of people really disliking and hating the military, man. And the only reason why they're joining these things because of the so-called benefits. That's the only one reason. All right, they don't give a fuck about this country. All right.
A lot of those people that don't come from war and stuff, they shell shock.
Yup.
Okay, you got
PSD,
post-traumatic stress
disorder.
Okay. Then a lot of these veterans that don't fought, they homeless.
Yup.
Okay.
No aid.
No aid. A lot of benefits are being cut down when it comes to the VA.
Yep.
Okay. They're not receiving aid. You saw mad about that when it comes to Trump and the whole Doge situation. They're gonna lead to more and more part of civil unrest. Okay, anarchy. Okay, division. Okay, we know, but we're going to that movie on Civil War.
Yeah.
Okay, because when I first, we watched it. Yeah, but when I first thought about Civil War, I thought it was gonna be the American, the average American people fighting against the government. Hey, but they showing that movie, it was like
the actual government fighting against each other. Yeah, fighting against each other, amongst each other. Yep. And that's going to happen too, man. All right, that's why, at the end all be all, Yahweh Hashem Yahushua is going to bring, this destruction as a battle royale. Mm-hmm. All right, not only the American citizens are going to go against the government, and the American citizens are going to turn on each other against the American citizens. All right, because for the lack of bread, all right, which going into food, lack of water, thirst, famines. All right, that's what's coming. And also, like we was going into the movie, the government is going to go against the government because even, you got certain, you know, politicians and people of Babylon the Great that really trust in America, that really wanted this place to prosper and continue to be great. But because the power is not in their hands, and the power ultimately is in the hands of Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai, the Lord is stirring up these different nations to fight against each other, man. All right? Yeah, that was it on my behalf.
This is second Esdras, chapter 15, verse 14. Woe to the world, and them that dwell therein, for the sword and the destruction draws nigh, and one people shall stand up to fight against another, and swords in their hands.
Hey, civil unrest. All right. Hey, Isaiah 19 and 2. The Egyptians fighting the Egyptians. All right. The Americans are going to be clashing with the Americans, man. The rich are going to be fighting the poor. The poor are going to be fighting the rich. The poor are going to be fighting the poor. The rich are going to be fighting the rich. Because at the end of the day, it's going to be, hey, it's going to be an all-out Royal Rumble, man. Survival of the fittest. The wild.
It's going to be clash wars, civil wars, gender wars,
all that.
race wars, food wars. You know, it's going to be war.
It's going to be war. That's all it's going to be. You know? And that's the future of Babylon the Great, man. All right, there is no bright future of America. All right, this place is over with. All right, through the spirit and power of Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai, us being the prophets, being risen up in the last time, first and foremost, starting off with our elders and apostles of Great Millstone. All right, our 4, head elders on down. We're living in the latter time and the latter end of Esau Edom's rulership. And the nation of Israel is about to be on top forever and forevermore.
It says, second Esdras, chapter 15, verse 15. For the sword and the destruction draweth nigh, and one people shall stand up to fight against another, and swords in their hands, for there shall be sedition among men, invading one another, and they shall not regard their kings nor princes.
I'm gonna look up that word sedition, in which we already know what that's going into, but just for further edification. All right, because the Lord is putting spirit upon these nations and these people to go against each other, man, to have hatred, to have, betrayal, disagreements, war, all right, so on and so forth. So this is sedition, conduct or speech indicating people to rebel against the authority of a state or a monarch. All right, civil war. All right, which ultimately civil war, civil unrest, all these different skirmishes and war is going to implement martial law. All right, which is going to read further in the precept how one should not be able to escape or enter into cities, because it's going to be it's going to be a severe lockdown, even though they had, practice runs through the 99, all right, through the pestilence, 2020, okay, but that's all through the spirit and power of Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai, man. But these times are fastly approaching.
This is on second Esdras, chapter 15, verse 17. And it says, a man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able.
Martial law. All right, that's just clear as day, man. The Lord is going to have a nationwide lockdown. All right, ultimately, if you don't have that MOTB, you're automatically going to be locked out of society. Like I said, hey, these prophecies are very severe, man. These things are going to come to pass, and when these false leaders and false teachers have to come forth with the truth, got to explain themselves. The water have to explain themselves. Hey, at that time and in that, hey, you never know. People might just fucking rip you limb to limb at that point, man. Because the people already seeing, even though they window shopping and they half and half with it, they got a feeling and they know deep down in their spirit that the MOTB is that MARK. All right, the CHIP. All right, that's going to be implemented, mandated All right, that's going to take away cash. That's going to be the new currency, the digital currency. And if you do not have that, you will not operate as we operate in the world. Prime example, going to work, having cash on you, paying bills. Okay, all that is going to be excluded with the MOTB system, which is fastly approaching, man. This is a very serious prophecy. And if you take that, that nuclear fire is gonna melt your ass, man. All right.
We're going into time, coming in time, and there's martial law.
Done.
There's gonna be travel bans, curfews, checkpoints. Okay, we're going to try to, really set up a lot of these smart cities, or call them 15-minute cities or safe zones, And when it comes to Esau Edom, okay, and all that's going to be operated by surveillance, biometric, okay, mainly that MOTB once they implement it, okay. Everything going to be in the way of credit-based system.
Oh yeah, so social credit.
Yeah. Now you see it, but now they pushing now as well. Universal basic income,
Yep.
Fed now.
Yep.
All that's about to be coming to the point of bringing more and more of a cashless society.
That's right.
Okay.
And it says, 2 Esdras chapter 15, verse 17, a man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able. For because of their pride, the city shall be destroyed, and houses shall be, because of their pride, the city shall be troubled, and the houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid.
And because of that great pride upon the planet Earth, that great miseries. All right, and like it said, also because them being in pride, cities are going to be troubled. All right, men are going to be afraid. So how much more the women? The women are going to be terrified in that day.
Scripture, like I said, Scripture said, the men gonna be as women.
As women, time. All right, and going back to you tough guy. That's why, like I said,
It's already a soft society now.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
The American men ain't built like a lot of these other country men.
Especially
Okay,
Russia.
But they, the reason why, because a lot of these men in America, okay, they're feminized, when it comes to the GMO food,
Yep.
certain, drugs, what they've been taught here in America. Okay, a lot of these men, they basically soft, man.
Time.
Okay, like I said, they pride. Okay, they comfortable.
Yep.
Okay, they used to having everything at at their fingertip. More like these other countries, man. You had to really have to, be
Get it
built,
out the mud, really.
tough, be built tough.
Yeah.
Okay, go through certain like you say, like certain countries, they got to deal with the policies of their country. More and more of these countries, other countries, they're more like strict.
Yeah, more straight.
There's a quote where how that quote goes. It says that it said how when it comes to good times, you can probably look it up. It says I might look it up. Good basically like when it comes to hard workers, they make good times. When it comes to the good times, they make basically like and they soft men. I forgot roughly paraphrase it.
It says good times create weak men.
Yeah.
Good times create weak men. Strong men create good times.
Yeah.
Good times create weak men, and weak men create.
Yeah, so that's the time we in, man. Okay, these people that are being more and more comfortable, especially the kind of men, especially so-called Negro Latino Native American. Okay, but true men that really raising up is the men of Yahweh Shah when it comes to the language. And the Lord gonna raise up more and more. But the average person, or men or women, they comfortable here in this place. Okay, that's why when all hell breaks, when hard times happen, you're gonna see their weakness. You're gonna see how weak it is. Okay, because they ain't prepared. They ain't never prepared themselves. They prepare themselves for the time.
Bad time.
Bad time. Those that prepare themselves for the hard times coming, they're gonna make them grumbling on times because they already been waiting for it. About to, get this stuff to adjust to. Okay? Especially, when it comes to the elect. Okay, so the hopeful elect. And he's looking for the Lord to deliver us, man. Okay, to strengthen us. Okay, because the scripture says, those that endure to the end, the same shall be saved.
Right.
And that word endure means to make hard.
Yep.
Okay, endure. This is second Esdras, number 15.
15, 18, and 19. I want you to finish off with that.
Second Esdras chapter 15, verse 18. For because of their pride, the city shall be troubled, the houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid. A man shall have no pity. A man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy the houses with the sword, and spoil their goods, because of the lack of grace and for great tribulation.
God. Yep, and that's what's coming, man. Because for the lack of bread, all right, for thirst, great tribulation, a lot of people are going to be doing a lot of invading. All right, it says in 2nd Esdras, the 6th chapter, verse 22. Yeah, 22 on down to 24. All right, hey, friends are going to be fighting like enemies because at the end of the day, they're not going to have the understanding, the wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, and the covering of Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai, man. All right, pursuing the Isaiah the 33rd chapter, verse 6, Psalms the 91st chapter, how he's going to protect his elect, and also Job the 5th chapter, verse 19 on down, how during those times, roughly paraphrasing, the men of the Lord, all right, are going to be protected and well off during the times of troubles. All right, laughing at calamities, laugh at famine. You got to have the spirit and power Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai upon you to endure, and to go through and to also come on top of Jacob's trouble. All hell breaking loose, death and destruction.
This is second Esdras, chapter 6, verse 22. And it says, suddenly shall the sown places appear unsown, and the full storehouses shall suddenly be found empty.
God, and that's going into the economic woes. But we're experienced the first waves of it. But sooner or later, like I say, as we're doing the videos now, if I was to pin the camera around, you can, speculate and also probably visualize all the businesses that's open up. All right, they got business still going on. They still got foods coming in and out. All right, but hey, because of these tariffs and the future judgments and prophecies that's about to come upon this place, sooner or later, it's going to be a worldwide famine, mainly in Babylon the Great, and the storehouses are going to be found empty. All right, also in your grocery stores.
It's going to be a shortage.
Resource. Shortage.
They
That's
like
what famine
food,
going
yeah,
into.
and food.
The
They're
water.
going to just be, it's going to be hard to have access to, especially if you got to have the MOTB.
And martial law going to be roaming the streets, all that. Yep.
Okay, it ain't like food. They're going to be, decimated or, you ain't have no food at all.
It's going to be limited.
It's going to be limited. Okay, it's going to be limited, man. When it comes to the MOTB, they're going to be rational.
Yeah, come.
Especially when it comes to the rational system, man.
Okay. And that also goes back to that social credit, because even dealing with the social credit, they put you and give you a certain amount of money that you are able to spend, depending on what type of social class that you're under, which ultimately goes into the rich, the poor, the 1%ers, which are the elites, so on and so forth, man.
When it comes to the niggas, the
So
spits,
the niggas, the spits,
that the
tomahawk,
class,
yeah. And we're all underneath, because we're the chosen people of the Lord, man. All right, but us being the hopeful potential elect, we're going to lean upon Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai for that guidance, for that protection. All right, because he's already been guiding us and protecting us in the times that we're living in now in our everyday life. So how much more when we really, really need him? All right, in dire straits.
The second Esdras, chapter 6, verse 22. And suddenly shall the sown places appear unsown, the full storehouses shall suddenly be found empty, and the trumpet shall give a sound, and that word trumpet.
Trumpet again, yup.
And the sound, and the trumpet shall give a sound, which when every man hear, they shall be suddenly afraid.
And we're blowing that trumpet. And it also says, Isaiah 58:1, you know, lift up thy voice like a trumpet. So ultimately, we're blowing that trumpet, the spiritual trumpet of death and destruction. All right, Jeremiah 28:8, of war, evil, and pestilence. Because, hey, that's all you see in the news, man. I mean, it ain't like you seeing good things, you know, on the news, really. All you seeing is death, destruction, economic woes. Like I said, Donald Trump, he's going berserk right now, man. And that's through the spirit and power. Yeah, madman.
It's gonna be like a madman.
Sparing none. And that's through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai, man, ultimately. All right, because we're living in the time of prophecies. We're at the end of Esau's rulership. All right?
And it says, and the trumpet shall give a sound, which when every man hear, they shall be suddenly afraid.
Yeah. And like that trumpet also going to the alerts. Okay, the sirens. Okay, the emergencies.
Yeah, Mercy Broadcasting System.
This is not a test. This is not a test. This is a real thing.
Yep.
Okay, you know.
Missiles been shot off, you know, from Russia,
Oh, we under
North
martial
Korea.
law.
Yep,
Oh,
under
yep.
martial law. The same thing that you see in the movies that people, you know, clearly look at as a fantasy, even though it is a movie. But hey, you gotta look at it. That's how Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai let these devils operate and pull off their witchcraft through the left hand side, through that television, man.
Predictive programming.
Yep.
You know, hidden in plain sight.
Yep. Gone.
Subliminal messages. Okay, especially now lately, you know, people try to break down, you know, the Simpsons there.
Oh, yeah,
now,
especially, yeah.
The Simpsons there, we gotta watch the Simpsons now to see what
The next prophecy, as they would call it. That, you know, predictions.
Yeah, because
You know?
you saw, you know, like you said on the left hand side, man. Okay, when it comes to these Hollywood producers and all that, man, which is a bunch of witches and all, warlocks and all that, man, when it comes to the witchcraft.
And it says, 2nd Esdras chapter 6, verse 24, and at that time shall friends fight one against another like enemies,
Yep.
and the earth shall stand in fear with those that dwell therein, and the springs of the fountains shall stand still, and in 3 hours they shall not run.
God, ultimately going into, like I said, the main scripture or the main word I want to go into as friends fighting like enemies. They're going to be invading one another. All right, trying to get those resources, you know, because survival of the fittest is going to be a lot of, you know, people that call themselves, you know, friends, you know, brothers, families, that's going to real life turn on each other, man. All right.
Speaking of movies, that movie, what, Leave the World Behind?
Oh yeah, Con.
Remember they had the Jake that they, you know, knew that, Kevin Bacon.
Kevin Bacon.
And basically, you know, when when shit got, you know, real, and then he finally, you know, throughout the movie, you know, Jake, you know, went to his house, you know, he had the other dude with him. And basically, even like, man, like, man, we know each other, we work with each other. And Kevin Bacon, like, shit, I don't know that. It's all about me.
It's all about me and my
family. Yeah. So that, you know, like I said, the movies, man, they show you, man.
And it's so spiritual because that's how you know at the end of the day, if you really are in the spirit, that'll be the best time, that'll really be the best time for people to work together, trust each other, and build together for more resources, you know, so on and so forth. But people like that, hey, they're fitted for destruction, man. All right, at the end of it all, especially America.
But American people don't have that mind frame. They're all about self. They're all about self, man. Okay, you know, of course, when all hell break loose, you might have certain people that, you know, do it, you know, gather together. Hey, man, we got a little community, you know, they're trying to, you know, build, you know, amongst each other. You know, we got the bargain system and all that. Okay, but majority of people, man, they gonna be hell nah, man. I got a damn, you know. I gotta take
every man for themselves, for his own, man.
The elect man gonna be like, man, through the spirit of power, you have about Shemel Shah. and Lord gonna be with his late man. And he gonna have certain brothers like have to be amongst each other, or be amongst each other, man. And the Lord gonna make sure we take care of each other, man.
Yep.
Okay, ain't gonna be no damn backstab. Okay, trying to look one over, not like I say, man, majority of people, man, in the world, man, they will be out for themselves. Majority of these people.
And just like how the Lord Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai gathered us together through the Spirit,
Yeah.
and in that time, the Lord is going to gather us together, man. All right, ultimately, on the highest level, man.
The brothers got spiritual
Powers, yeah.
Gonna be on that.
God, man. And that's what we're hoping for. That's what we're looking forward to. We know these troubling times are coming. We hasten the day, man. All right, we watch prophecies. We be circumspect in our everyday life. All right. No, my motto: no new friends, man. Like I say, I'm starting to really get to the point. I'm really not a friendly person. The old me, tried, blase blah whoopie whoop, but before this truth, and I had to learn. Everybody, majority of people have alternative motives, man. All right, especially the ones that's really outside of the circumcision. All right. But even these false prophets, man, these false leaders, they have alternative motives too, to lead their congregation and their flock to the slaughter. All right, but it's all through the Spirit of Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai that's going to redeem us and keep us safe during the time of all hell breaking loose. You had something?
That been it on second edges. Coming in time, coming in a crucial time. Okay, yeah, that's the hope for that. We be preparing ourselves.
Because we can.
It said that at that time, second Edges chapter 6, verse 24, and it says, "And at that time shall friends fight one against another like enemies, and the earth shall stand in fear with those that dwell in it, and the springs of the fountains shall stand still, and 3 hours they shall not run."
Now also going into the truth. And the word. Okay, because of the word of Yahweh Shem Shai being taken away off the internet, and prophets being removed off the highways and byways. It's a good time.
Because during that time, we're not going to be out here on the streets of Babylon the Great. We're not going to be prophesying during that time. As it says in Ezekiel chapter 3 and 26, that the Lord is going to cleave our tongue to the roof of the mouth of the prophets. All right, also Amos chapter 8, verse 11 and 12. All right, the famine of the word. So especially during that time and in that day, because you know why? It's going to be judgment day. It's going to be judgment time, through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai. Ain't going to be no more talking. It's going to be nothing but death and destruction in the land. All right? And that's what the Lord is mustering up. All right? Putting the heathens, rising the heathens up together for World War III. All right? About to let the elites crash this dollar in order to implement the MOTB, the MARK. All right?
Like I say, the Spirit of the Lord is doing it. Okay, because it's been up to Esau, he would have been crashed.
God.
Okay, they wanted to bring the MOTB ever since the 70s, the 80s, the 90s. Okay, but it wasn't, like you said, the Lord controlled the nations, okay, when it comes to the powers that be the men, okay, when it comes to the rulers. Okay, but we know we that close now, here in 2025 and counting. Okay, hopefully this be the year. Okay, going into the time that we're in now, we can see that this is the time now that, this is the time that the Lord about to put the Spirit on these elites, okay, to implement that new system. Okay, because everything is set up, man. All that they're waiting for the next crisis, as they say, to bring order out of chaos, man. Okay, so we in that point in time, man. Okay, and at the same time, Yahweh Shem Shai got his prophets out here giving that forewarning. Okay, when it comes to repentance and eventually salvation for the nation of Israel, we'll start looking at that.
Yeah, look at Isaiah 34. I want you to hold Isaiah 13. It's a certain precept I want to get into, basically into the doleful like creatures that's going to be dwelling in the land. verse 20 and 22. Isaiah 13, 20, and 22. And I'm going to start at verse 1. This is Isaiah chapter 34 and verse 1. Right. This is Isaiah chapter 34 verse 1. Come near ye nations to hear, and hearken ye people. Let the earth hear, and all that is therein.
That kind of sounds like an internet scripture right there.
God.
Because the word is being pushed worldwide. Okay, you know, of course, we got the men, you have about Shema on the highways and byways. You know, when it comes to the ministry, and we always say, man, start with the men of Great Millstone, start with the apostle elders, that the internet does the heavy lifting. Okay, and so now you got all nations acquiring about the Hebrew Israelites. Okay, when it comes to our people and these heathens, man.
Continuing on our precept, Matthew chapter 24, verse 14. And this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in all the world for a witness unto all nations, and then shall the end come.
That's the end come. Now we about to witness the end, once again, of the end of Esau Edom rulership. Okay, because it's gospel. It's the word gospel means good news. Okay, what's the good news only for the elect of the nation of Israel at this time? Okay, when it comes to the 144,000 and the 130. Okay, there's a so-called Negro Latino Native American descendant. That's something that we strive to be part of. Okay, us to vote for elect. Okay, but now we know due to the internet and the Lord raising up the street ministry, okay, on the prophets and the highways and byways, okay, worldwide, start here in America, okay, in other camps, you know, waking up worldwide, okay, but prior to the internet, okay, that's how we know that we are coming to the end time.
Continuing on, back in Isaiah chapter 34, verse 1. Come near ye nations to hear, and hearken ye people. Let the earth hear, and all that is therein, the world and all the things that come forth of it. Verse 2. For the indignation of the Lord, Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua, is upon all nations, and his fury upon all their armies. He have utterly destroyed them. He have delivered them to the slaughter.
And that's going to be that great destruction ultimately of this place, America. Okay? When it comes to that thermonuclear destruction at the peak of the Third World War, and Yahushua bringing fire as well, by the way, of chariots, the world called UFOs. Okay? And once this place destroyed, it ain't going to never be inhabited again by nations. Okay? Once the fire and smoke dies down, there's going to be a remarkable of wickedness. And it will become a desert. Okay?
Verse 2, verse 3. Their slain also shall be cast out, and their stank shall come out of their carcasses, and the mountains shall be melted with their blood. All right, going into a parabolic on how these bodies are not going to be buried in the time of destruction. All right, their stank is going to come out of the corpses. All right, the mountains, all right, represents, you know, the governments, really. All right, and this government of Esau, Babylon the Great, is going to have nothing but dead bodies in the streets thereof, man. Roughly paraphrasing. Because as it says in Isaiah 66:15 on down to 16, all right, roughly paraphrasing, the slain of the Lord shall be many. All right, it's going to be from one end of the earth unto the next, man. Great slaughter and destruction. Verse 4. And all the hosts of heaven shall be dissolved, and the heavens shall be rolled together as a scroll, and all their hosts shall fall down as the leaf falleth off from the vine, and off as a falling fig from the fig tree.
They're going into those thermonuclear missiles.
Yep.
Okay, so the heaven shall be what?
Rolled together as a
There's
scroll.
a scroll going into that mushroom cloud. Okay, when it comes to that, you know, that once the missile hit its target, you know, ground zero. Okay, then you had that mushroom cloud, and then you had that wave of fire that come behind it, man. Okay, they're going to lead to, you know, the devastation of this place, America, man. Okay, because when John the Revelator seen the total destruction of this place, America, Okay, he called it the lake of fire. Okay, so you know that fire gonna come as a wave. Okay, when it comes to from the missiles and the chariots. Okay.
Verse 5, and also the heavens, representing the skies, how the elements are going to be rolled together. The elements are going to melt with fervent heat. All right, roughly paraphrasing. Okay, because that's what's going into nuclear destruction and the mushroom cloud that's going to be made after it hits its target. Verse 5, Isaiah 34 and 5. For my sword shall be bathed in heaven, in the heavens. All right, behold, it shall come down upon Idumea, which is a English slash Greek, Greek slash English, or Greek mainly, which means Edom. All right. Upon Idumea and upon the people of my curse to judgment.
Yeah, all right. And this is going to indicate Esau Edom rulership. Okay, when it comes to it's going to indicate Esau Edom end of his rulership. Okay, because after those missiles decimate this place, America, okay, nuclear war, okay, the land of Israel being destroyed. Okay, Esau Edom ain't gonna go in rise up in power. Okay, no more. Okay, gonna be time for Israel to rise. Okay, or Israel kingdom be established up under Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai. Okay, so ain't gonna be no Esau Edom rising up again. You know, you got IUIC and
after 1,000 years.
After 1,000 years, they're gonna rise up, man. Hell nah, man. After the destruction of this place, America, okay, and the cleansing of the land of Israel, that's gonna be it. We saw Edom and the rest of the heathen nations that remained at that time, start with Elisa, we saw Edom. Okay, they're gonna go into captivity. Okay, once Yahweh Shai establishes kingdom here on the earth, and we read about that, about the New Jerusalem descending out of the heavens. Okay, the elect coming off those chariots to rule. Okay, you can read about that in Revelation chapter 21, verse 1. And our kingdom gonna be an everlasting kingdom. Ain't gonna be no heathens gonna gather together and learn war. Yeah. The Spirit ain't gonna learn war.
Make a plan and take us down.
Take us down, man. Nah, hell no, man. We gonna rule forever. Then we gonna be immortal.
Okay. It's verse 6, Isaiah 34 and 6.
Then we gonna have the spiritual power to the fullest. So what the hell, damn,
these other camps, man. Now like the elders say, the elders and apostles say, they had to sell out. Teaching those those dumbass, damnable heresies, man. Verse 6, the sword of the Lord Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai is full with blood. It is made fat with fatness, and with the blood of lambs and goats, with the fat of the kidneys of rams. For the Lord Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai have made a sacrifice in Basra and a great slaughter in the land of Idumea. All right, which symbolically represents Babylon the Great, aka America. All right, that's what it's talking about, the land of Idumea. All right, because even though we know that Idumea is a people before it's a place, but its main infrastructure and rulership happened in Babylon the Great. Its main influence came out of Babylon the Great America. And we know through the prophecies and the scriptures that this place is the place that's not going to be inhabited anymore once this destruction happens. Even though the land of Israel is going to be annihilated, but it's going to be built back, according to Ezekiel the 39th chapter, by the way of the heathens, man. Jumping down, verse 9, read on down to 10, and then you get Isaiah 13. Verse 9, and the streams thereof shall be turned into pitch, and the dust thereof into brimstone, and the land thereof shall become burning pitch. Going into, well, let me read verse 8, Salaki. Isaiah 34 and 8. For it is the day of the Lord's vengeance, Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai, in the year of recompense for the controversy of Zion. So for the controversy of Zion, for Zion's sake, for the troubles, the calamities that happened upon Zion, you so-called blacks, Hispanics, Native Americans, Seminole Indian descent, so-called Haitians and Jamaicans, because of all these terrible things happening upon you, Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai is going to bring great judgment upon, first off, starting off with Esau, Edom, Idumea, and upon all the heathen nations. all right, that's going to fall under subjection, all right, especially in the kingdom of heaven. All right, when Lord Yahweh shall come back, make his second return, and going to be ruling the planet Earth. Verse 9, and the streams thereof shall turn into pitch, and the dust thereof into brimstone, and the land thereof shall become burning pitch, going into the destruction that's going to happen upon this place. All right, this place is going to be a whole desert land, man. All right, it's going to be no more, lakes, rivers, all right, so on and so forth, waters that's going to be, dwelling in this land, man, roughly paraphrased, because this whole land is going to turn into desert, all right, which is going to inhabit desert-like creatures, as we're going to read further along in this chapter and also in Isaiah the 13th chapter. Verse 10, it shall not be quenched night nor day, the smoke thereof shall go up forever, from generation to generation. It shall lie waste, none shall pass through it forever and ever. All right, and that's going into how this place is not going to be inhabited anymore, and for a period of time that the smoke is going to be still lit upon this place, showing you the memorial or the remembrance of Babylon the Great America, how that was once such a great city, but it was great in wickedness and witchcraft. All right, that's what it was great in. Okay, great in fulfilling the lust of the flesh, great in evil, wickedness. All right, that's all that this place was established for. And ultimately, this place is going to be destroyed, man, through the spirit and power of Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai. All right?
Like you say, it's going to be known as an amalgamation of wickedness,
Yep.
Of the great destruction. But also, it's going to be an amalgamation of the great deliverance, too. Yahweh Shai delivering the elect from out of the destruction of this place, man. Okay, when it comes to the, start with the 144,000 and 1/3, the destiny of the Satan. Okay, that's what they're going to be known as well. Okay, the Lord bringing deliverance. Okay, and so that's why more and more, once again, when it comes to America, when it comes to this word being prophesied, it's here. When the Lord set up the prophets mainly to teach, okay, to give that forewarning when it comes to the salvation of the nation of Israel, okay, of the elect, and the great destruction of this place, America. Okay?
You say Isaiah?
Yeah. Matter of fact, let me read 11 and then you'll get Isaiah 13 and 20. Probably about wrap it up in a few. Verse 11, but the cormorant, or the pelican as it reads in the title. Matter of fact, I'm going to read it in the NLT right quick. Get a better understanding. Isaiah 34, verse 11. Well, I'm gonna read the KJV right quick. But the conquerment, and the bittern shall possess it. The owl also and the raven shall dwell in it, and he shall stretch upon it the line of confusion and the stones of emptiness.
The line of confusion, the stone of emptiness. If the ones of the place be destroyed, man, ain't gonna be no state lines.
God.
Remaining. Ain't gonna be no, hey, you travel from one state to the next state, you're welcome to New York, welcome to the LA, Los Angeles, California. No, all that gonna be destroyed. Okay, everything gonna be laid flat. Okay, everything gonna be rubbish. Okay, when it comes to the nuclear destruction. And once the fire and the smoke, dies down, man. One thing going to happen in this place is desert-like creatures.
I'm going in the NLT. I'm gonna read Isaiah 34 through 14 right quick. Matter of fact, 14. And I'm just gonna go straight through it. It will be haunted by the desert owl and the screech owl, the great owl and the raven, for the Most High God Yahweh will measure that line carefully. He will measure it for chaos and destruction. Verse 12, it will be called the land of nothing. All right, and that's what this place is going to be. A land of wasteness. All right, the land of void, emptiness. All right, nothing, man. And all its nobles will soon be gone. Starting off with Esau, Edom. All right, the proud people over here, the other nations. All right, the rulership of the elites is going to come to an end, so on and so forth, man. But mainly the people of Idumea, all right, the Edomites, whether rich or poor, all right. Verse 13, thorns will overthrow its palaces, nettles and thistles will grow in its forts. The ruins will become a hunt for jackals and a home for owls. Verse 14, desert animals will mingle there with hyenas, their owls filling the night. Wild goats will bleat at one another among the ruins, and night creatures will come there to rest. And that's all that's going to be inhabited, man. Desert-like creatures, man. Through the spirit and fire, Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai, man. All right?
Isaiah 13 and 20.
Yes.
Isaiah chapter 13, verse 19.
Come.
And it says, in Babylon, the glory of kingdoms, the beauty of the Chaldeans, excellency shall be as when Yahweh Bashim Yahushai overthrew Sodom and Gomorrah.
That's right.
Yeah, we know what happened in ancient Sodom and Gomorrah. How it was destroyed by way of fire and brimstone.
Yep.
Okay? It never did happen again. Okay, Sodom and Gomorrah, those other cities, you know, a total of 5. Okay, but mainly Sodom and Gomorrah got destroyed. Okay? Never inhabited again. Okay? And so America will have the same fate. Okay, but this time it's gonna come in the fire and brimstone gonna come in the form of thermonuclear missiles. Okay, and we know why Sodom and Gomorrah was destroyed, due to the foul acts that happened. Okay, between you know those men, okay, and women back then, those nations. And when it comes to the nasty agenda, but they're pushing the date. Okay, that's why America, out of one of many reasons why this place is gonna be destroyed. Okay, because they take on that same alternative lifestyle, man, and keep it like that. And it says, it shall be as when Yahweh Bashim Shai overthrew Sodom and Gomorrah. Verse 20, Isaiah chapter 13, verse 20, and it shall never be inhabited, neither shall it be dwelt in from generation to generation, neither shall the Arabian pitch tent there, neither shall the shepherds make their foes there. And it says, verse 20, okay, meaning there ain't gonna be no inhabited by the other nations. There ain't gonna be no Arabs over here, man. Okay, with the little 7-Eleven. Okay, you know Ishmael down. Now they don't come over here to America and own every corner store, convenience store, hotels, business. Okay, well, in a roundabout way, ain't gonna be no more consuming business here for America. Okay, by any nation. Okay, it's gonna become a desert, man. Okay, and this place gonna be so destroyed, there ain't gonna be no way to rebuild it. Okay, as it says in Revelation chapter 9, it says that John saw the missiles. He said with 200,000 representing 200 million missiles, man. Okay, when it comes to the missiles, from the destruction from the missiles of the warheads, man. And it says. Isaiah chapter 13, verse 21, it says, but wild beasts of the desert shall lie there, and their houses shall be full of doleful creatures, and owls shall dwell there, and styres shall dance there, and the wild beasts of the islands shall cry in their desolate houses, and the dragons in their pleasant palaces. And her time is near to come, her days shall not be prolonged.
Come on, man. And this place is fitted for destruction. All right, it's on borrowed time, man. Through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai. And it's not going to be prolonged because the spirit and power of Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai has been put on the prophets to continue to preach and prophesy until these things come to pass. So, through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai, we don't have long in this society, man, in this kingdom. All right, and if you're in the right spirit, you will want this place to be destroyed ever since yesterday. All right, through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai. All right, representing you know, the Heavenly Father through His only begotten Son, hoping that this place be destroyed. Because with that being said, our captivity is going to be up, pursuing the Lamentation 4 and 21 on 20 down to 22, and we're going to be in the kingdom of heaven in righteousness and forever, man. All right.
No, that's it.
Yeah, that was it through the Spirit. Probably Yahweh Yahweh Shah. Praying that, you know, this lesson has been edifying. All right, through the Spirit and power Yahweh Yahweh Shah. All right, and of course, before we, you know, leave, close out, we want to give all praises, glory, and honor unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shah, Bahashem, Rakah, Wadash. Double honor to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone that teach us this truth. Through the Spirit and power Yahweh Yahweh Shah, peace, love, and blessings to the elect, scattered abroad around the four corners of the earth, mainly in Babylon the Great. Until next time, we want to say Shalom, Shalom.
Shalom.
Peace, love, and blessings to the elect of the nation of Israel. Shalom.
Shalom.